For gamers of a certain age, the early 1980s were a wonderment of 8-bit goodness. It was a heady age of sprites whirring around the screen on a restricted rainbow of colours. In this period, to hear a computer actually speak was a rare thing indeed, being limited to movies like war games.
How about a nice game of chess?
And a few poor samples in games like RoboCop on the Spectrum, or using expensive speech modules such as that found on the Mattel television, which would make you the envy of your schoolyard friends with sounds like this.
B-17 bomber.
Well yes, this was the early days of this technology. But did you know that in 1985 there existed a home computer that could not only speak to you, but could actually understand what you were saying?
Open the pod bay doors, Hal.
I'm sorry, Dave. I'm afraid I can't do that.
Neither does most of the world now, or even back then, due to several reasons we are going to be looking at. But first of all, it's tweed jacket time for a history lesson about a gaming system you likely have never heard of, which could have changed the gaming world. Ladies and gentlemen, may I introduce you to the laserdisc-based Halcyon from RDI Video Systems.
Nice to see you again, Stuart Sheffield.
It's Stephen, you idiot. How many times did we rehearse this?
Visit worlds which were only dreams before Halcyon, like nothing you have experienced ever.
The Halcyon, named in part after the infamous computer from the movie 2001: A Space Odyssey.
I'm sorry, Dave. I'm afraid I can't do that.
Was a brainchild of businessman r.d.i and was developed for his video game company RDI Video Systems. Inspired by the company's massive success with the arcade interactive movie game Dragon's Lair,
lead on, adventurer. Your quest awaits.
Which in the arcade version had used a laserdisc player, giving it unparalleled high quality video for the time. Dyer decided he was going to bring this experience to the home user with a laserdisc-based console that provided a new level of interaction to the user by being able to both speak in and of itself something quite rare at the time, especially within the video game industry, and to take vocal commands.
Okay, I think maybe the first thing is we'll just turn him off and turn him on. As you remember, you were talking with Hal before, so now when we turn him on, all you have to do is say your name. He will recognize your voice and recognize who you are.
Okay.
So. Welcome to Halcyon. Do you want to play Sayer's Quest?
Yes.
Yes. If I have your voice print, please say your name or else press any key.
Stuart.
Nice to see you again, Stuart Sheffield. Can I call you Stuart?
Yes.
Yes, okay,
Pretty
Stuart.
impressive. A little bit.
Which, as far as I'm aware, made it unique in that period. In fact, these abilities made the system more powerful than many of the home PCs of that period. Halcyon, based on a Z80 processor, would be comprised of two units. One, the computer itself had 64 kilobytes of memory, which was partitioned for both ROM and RAM, ROM containing the operating system. The voice synthesis was handled by an inbuilt Votrax synthesizer. Originally it was intended for Halcyon to have a voice like its HAL brethren, but memory constraints within the synthesizer meant that this was not possible. Voice recognition was handled by a separate, inbuilt speech recognition computer, which would return to the Z80 details of what the system believed it heard and the confidence it had that it was correct. If this confidence level was too low, this would cause the main system to ask the user to repeat what they had said, a situation greatly demonstrated here in this classic scene from the Computer Chronicles.
Well, first of all, I think the speech recognition is the most advanced speech recognition that's ever been put on the marketplace. Yes, there has been speech recognition. There has never been speech recognition of the high caliber that this has. It has the ability to understand up to a 200-word vocabulary.
Take this staff to the fairy circle in the forest and give it to the fairies.
So, as you can see...
Now that's me, sort of. I'm the character in this story.
That's right. You were that character.
And I've got a choice now. Sorry, Hal.
Let's go to the forest clearing.
1.
What?
1.
Speak consistently, Stuart.
1.
Sir.
2.
2.
Is that okay? I mean...
Sure.
Sure, that's a different story then.
Oh, fellow. Who are you?
The computer had a port for accepting the Halcyon game cartridges, which had 16 kilobytes of memory. This cartridge contained the game node layout, its speech files for the synthesizer and the recognizer, inventory data, and game logic. The computer itself also came with a very sturdily built keyboard and a headset for vocal interactions. The second component of the system was a Pioneer LD700 laserdisc player with a custom faceplate which would take commands from the main computer through a serial connection. The company intended to give the option to buy the computer part of the system by itself if you already had certain models of Pioneer, Magnavox or Sylvania laserdisc players. These players did not have serial connections. Instead, the system would come with an emitter which would be attached to the lens of the infrared receiver of the player to allow it to accept commands. The laserdisc itself would contain the audio and video for the game. This being a laserdisc meant that the games would contain high quality video footage, something unique in the market at the time. DIRK did not want the experience of using the Halcyon to come across as just using a machine. He wanted it to feel to people that it was a friend, although after naming it from the 2001 computer, I'm not completely sure I'd even want it as a friend. Due to the amount of storage available at the time, the system was limited to learning 100 words. When a user first logged on, they would have to go through a routine to train the system to recognise their voice, apart from the words yes and no, for which the system had 2 male and 2 female internal samples to compare to. To create the impression of a personal experience, the system was capable of recognising and greeting each user with their own name.
As you remember, you were talking with Hal before, so now when we turn him on, all you have to do is say your name. He will recognize your voice and recognize who you are.
Okay.
So. Welcome to Halcyon. Do you want to play Sayer's Quest?
Yes.
Yes. If I have your voice print, please say your name or else press any key.
Stuart.
Nice to see you again, Stuart Hefe.
The system would also prompt the user for commands if it was left alone for a while.
The computer will say, John, did you just go to get a snack? And you would say, yes. You'd be kind of surprised. And it would say, well, I would appreciate in the future if you would excuse yourself before walking off on me. And that's a feature that's actually in this system.
DIRK had larger plans for the Halcyon than just being merely a gaming machine. He really was going after the HAL 9000 experience. DIRK had intended Halcyon to integrate into the home.
Recognition, synthesis, and so forth.
HAL already has the artificial intelligence. What Jay was referring to is that HAL has already designed into him the ability to interface with any home computer or external peripheral or device that he can control or get information from or give information to.
Right. So it's available.
Which would mean that by using voice command, you could control things such as drawing the curtains, switching lights on and off at times set by the user, even control sound systems as shown in this video.
Rick Dyer at home in Leucadia, a man whose mind is light years in the future. His past success, the invention of Dragon's Lair, Space Ace, and Thayer's Quest, the latter hooked into a human-like computer called Halcyon.
Good evening, Hal.
What do you want, Rick?
In limited production now out of Carlsbad, Halcyon will have an optional conversational computer control. It takes remote control out of your hands and into your mouth.
Elevator music. Louder. Classical. Disco.
Although that's going to take some fancy wiring to hook into the controls or an amplifier, so I imagine there would have been a limited amount of models it could handle. Can you spot the HAL 9000 influences here? DIRK also intended the system to stretch so far as to being able to interact with an exercise bike.
Other advances, an infrared control for your exercycle that hooks up to the computer and lets you pedal among the planets. If you want it down to earth, there's a stroll in the English countryside or in Beverly Hills.
Only 2 games were ever released for the system, Thayer's Quest and NFL Football, Chargers vs. Raiders.
The new twist will be a disc for a football game.
For the first time, for the players that have always been watching football and saying, gosh darn it, why didn't they do that? Why didn't they throw a pass? Well, you're going to literally get to be the armchair quarterback and make the plays for your favorite team.
The Chargers Raiders are in action here. Dallas and Washington is another selection. This Charger edition is not the current last place dud, but the team with the likes of John Jefferson.
Bomb.
Oh boy.
Bob versus the team.
Bounce, backpedaling to throw. Sets, runs, moves to his right, gets a rush, gets hit, throws deep. No good, nobody there.
Both of these were based on the arcade versions available at the time, but the Halcyon had an advantage over the arcade machines because it used a normal laserdisc player to which the user had access. You could actually flip the disc, giving the developers the opportunity to provide greatly enhanced versions of the games. After the failure of the Halcyon, Thayer's Quest and NFL Football saw some success with arcade versions, with NFL Chargers vs. Raiders being changed to just NFL Football. I've never used either of these machines or their home computer console conversions. If you have, what was your experience of them? Let us know in the comments, please.
25,000 units are the sales estimate for the first year. Only 1 or 2 units are in selected video stores now, just 1 in San Diego County. Each unit is being tested by computers, equipment, and humans. Quality control to ensure satisfaction for the $2,500 price tag.
My wife and I, as you probably can guess, are gambling everything we own on this, so it's kind of scary, but that's the sort of thing that makes you want to succeed.
So, what caused such a promising system to fail? Well, first of all, there was the small matter of the not insignificant asking price of $2,500 or £1,900 in 1985. This would be the equivalent of around $6,800 or £5,200 at today's rate. Also, there is the fact that the game would come on both Laserdisc and cartridge, making them incredibly expensive to develop and manufacture, meaning a high ticket price at the till. Investors, realising that there would be little demand for the unit in the market, understandably pulled out. As far as is presently known, only 10 Halcyons were ever built, all by hand, allegedly passing into the hands of the various investors and some collectors after its failure. There are rumours out there that it had gone into retail, although without contracts signed for their production and monies paid, I doubt this was ever the case. It's a real shame that the Halcyon had so much fighting against it. It was some real forward thinking of the time and could have changed the face of the gaming landscape dramatically, bringing voice control, something that in gaming isn't really too much of a factor even now, forward by a few decades. Or would it? You see, the time of the Halcyon was the time of the interactive movie, something that was of its age. Could this way of control have integrated itself into other areas of gaming such as arcade or sports, etc., if it had been introduced at this early stage? We will never know, but what do you think? What we do know is that the failure of the Halcyon caused the bankruptcy of RDI video systems and the end of Rick Dyer's involvement in the industry. It's a shame to think what could have been created by such an innovative person in time. These days, the Halcyon is one of the rarest, if not possibly the rarest gaming system in existence, and if you find one, I suggest you remortgage your home.
This video is for informational purposes only. RGVX does not in any way literally mean that you have to remortgage your home. RGVX is a numpty and not a qualified financial advisor, so safely ignore him.
If you've enjoyed the video and you are not already, then please consider subscribing. It won't cost you a penny. You can join me and other like-minded geeks and geekesses at our social media hangouts such as Facebook and Twitter. Links below. And if you wish to support the channel, I have a Patreon account too. Other than that, I hope you enjoyed watching, I've learnt something, and thanks very much for watching.
You need to quit being dirty. You're a dirty boy.